Hello Power Rangers Lightning Collection fans, and welcome back to Lightning Storm, the series where lightning always strikes twice as we talk about everything that's happened in the past week for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection. So, interestingly enough, we actually have a lot to talk about here this week, which I would not have expected, but this is basically a sequel follow-up. It's basically an additional Fanstream recap because due to the fact that they spread out the pre-orders this week for Wave 15, the Cobra Kai's, Deluxe Wave 4, and especially the next wave of Remastered, we actually have a lot to discuss because of what happened during all the pre-order periods for all these things, which is definitely very, very weird and interesting here. So, but we have a lot to talk about here, so let's go and get right on into it. So today we're going to go through each of the batches of the figures that went up for pre-order this week and talk about the updates that's happened since Monday's recap episode, starting with Wave 15. So we don't have a lot to talk about with Wave 15, like whatsoever, because this was actually the batch of figures that went up for pre-order on Monday, so we already know that the pre-order release date for these has them listed as October. Now, other stores have them listed as earlier stuff, like GameStop claims June, and dates are weird with this one, and they pretty much are for all of the figures that got revealed this past week, but essentially kind of my mentality about Lightning Collection pre-order release dates right now is whatever the post-release date is, subtract like 2 months from that, and that's probably more accurate to when we're actually going to see these out in the world somewhere. So I don't think we're going to see them as early as June, even though GameStop claims that, and I don't think we're going to have to wait until November for them. I think that October, probably honestly September release date is probably a more closer estimate to these. But the reason why we're talking about these again is, first of all, TJ sold out on Amazon, but he is available still on other retailers. But I also wanted to remind you guys that since we are now moving to a 3-figure wave down from a 4-figure wave as per usual, there is a little bit of a different case assortment for this one, and this is the first time we've had a different case assortment of figures since Wave 9, because for the last 5 waves, it's been 2 figures for each of the 4 options that they have. It's whenever there's a case of 8. So in this case, the case breakdown is 3 Turbo Reds, 3 Lightspeed Blues, and 2 RPM Yellows. So technically RPM Yellow is somewhat short-packed, but only by 1, so you still shouldn't have a hard time getting Summer, but if that's something that kind of worries you a little bit and you want to make sure you get one, be sure to check her out, especially using my Amazon affiliate link in the description below, which everything that is available on Amazon, there will be an Amazon affiliate pre-order link down in the description, so be sure to check those out if there's still a bunch of figures that you need to pre-order, because there was a lot this week, and there was a lot. There's a lot to cover. But the main thing with Wave 15 is the UK just didn't get him. Just didn't get him, which is so unfortunate. It's one of those things to where sometimes the UK has been really good with getting figures out there, like the Cobra Kai's, which we're going to talk about later. They got them first, and those are Target exclusives in the US. So it's kind of strange that they've been seemingly getting a lot of our store exclusives and stuff recently, and kind of being the first place to get a lot of stuff. And then the next main regular retail wave, the UK just doesn't get on Pulse, and retailers the only one that I saw actually get them was Comics and Cocktails, which had to put up an actual import stock of them, not an actual native UK stock. So it's so strange. Now, the one retailer, Star Action Figures, put out this statement that I'm putting up on screen right now that kind of seems to claim that these things might get a little bit better with time. They got everything else this week, most retailers, especially even Pulse UK, got Cobra Kai's, got Deluxe, got Remastered. So at least all of the more harder to find figures that were revealed this week did go up in the UK somewhere, and it's just this regular wave of 3 figures that didn't, which doesn't make sense, and I know it's definitely very frustrating and weird and confusing, and it is, but hopefully in the later months that will stop being a thing to where they just don't get certain waves. And at least the bright side is these ones are technically the easier ones to have to import. You shouldn't have to do that, but at least that is an option for these ones, and hopefully things will improve. But I saw a lot of UK fans reach out and say, hey, do you know where you can get these in the UK? Be sure to cover that they're not in the UK, and I wanted to make sure that I covered that because kind of all that stuff was happening on Monday when I was trying to do my recap episode as fast as possible, so I didn't make it in there in time, so I wanted to make sure that I addressed it. Now, our first batch of new pre-orders since my last episode of Lightning Storm was this past Tuesday when Deluxe Wave 4 went up for pre-order. So there's really nothing to talk about with this one. So while the UK had problems with Wave 15, and there were a lot of problems with Remastered that we're going to talk about in a minute, Deluxe Wave 4 perfectly good. So they are retail releases, so you should be able to find these in Targets and Walmarts and all that stuff. They're not exclusive to any retailer. Amazon has these, so there will be Amazon affiliate links to Deluxe Wave 4 in the description below. Now, technically, Entertainment Earth didn't get like a Wave 4 like listing where you can get both of them together or anything like that. So like, technically, this isn't like a deluxe wave, but for all intents and purposes, it basically is a deluxe wave. One of the main reasons why I'm claiming it still is a wave with the two of them together, not only because they went up for pre-order together, but it's because Minotaur was a figure that was definitely supposed to be in a deluxe wave. He was supposed to be in a deluxe wave with Wild Force Red, the Red Savage Warrior version with the Battleizer. All the way back in 2021, the plan was to release in 2022 Minotaur and Wild Force Red. And we know, as I've talked about in many episodes before, all the Deluxe Waves contents got all shifted around for whatever reason. So that's why, if you look at the product numbers for these guys, so we now know that Minotaur is the identity of the mysterious physician codename, and if you look at his product number, it is significantly earlier in the line than Rita's product number, which was the more recent codename that we didn't have until this past January of Oldsmar. So when that codename popped up, we were like, oh, that's a new Deluxe figure, and then some listings had shifted around. In episode 200 of Lightning Storm, I covered that Deluxe Wave 4 was going to be Physician and Oldsmar, and in that one I did claim that it was going to be Wild Force Red because I assumed that was going to be the case due to the fact that Illuminati had reported that Wild Force Red was coming. They kind of had their own exclusive with that, and I don't know what sources that they used for that article, so I believed that, I guess it is still happening. So I figured that was probably the logical conclusion, that Minotaur and Wild Force Red were going to be together, just like they were supposed to. And I kind of thought that Rita was going to be in the Remastered line, but she isn't. We were right about certain things, like that box art is absolutely the art from that Valentine's Day post, which we had theorized was going to be her remastered artwork. But she's not. She's not considered remastered. It doesn't really matter, but it's just one of those things to where, like, all the pieces were there for us to, like, figure this out correctly. We just didn't figure it out quite correctly, and that's my fault. I just didn't put the pieces in the right spots. But we still got to the same conclusion. Where is Wild Force Red, though? I don't know. I honestly think that this figure has been canceled. If I had to personally guess, I think this figure's been canceled. I hope that's not the case. I hope what actually happened is that Minotaur was just put on hold and saved for the 30th anniversary because they knew he was going to come back in Once and Always. And then they were working on this Rita, and they just decided to release them at the same time because it would fit with Once and Always. There is that one mysterious deluxe price-pointed code name in the Target system. It's deluxe priced, but we don't know if it is actually a deluxe because it doesn't have DLX in the codename. It might not even be Lightning Collection, so we could potentially, and also the codename from the original Wave lineup was DLX Franklin, and here's the product number for that. That, once upon a time, was Wild Force Red. It now might be someday, because Physician eventually came to fruition with Minotaur. So maybe Franklin, Wild Force Red, will actually show up eventually with this other mysterious Target listing as like a Wave 5. But as of right now, no definitive proof that that's actually happening, and we don't know what that Target listing is. But the point is, Wave 4 is up, which is what I'm just going to keep calling it now, Minotaur and Rita, up on all the major retailers for a September release date pretty much across the board. Pulse UK has it a little earlier for August. There is, what was it, I think it was November or December. I think it was December that Entertainment Earth had them for. It's not going to take that long for these figures to come out, and GameStop had some other unrealistic dates on them. The GameStop ones are really funny, because like GameStop has not been sending out or shipping out a lot of things recently, so to actually believe that they're gonna get them that early is kind of laughable. But like in the past, they have been the first place to get things, so it is theoretically possible. But I'm just not betting on it. Alright, and then next up I want to talk about just a couple Pulse things that happened on Monday and just some updates that happened with these ones. So they did mention that the NFT, or previously NFT exclusive Black and Gold Zap Megazord, was being, I guess, re-released from the vault or whatever. Whatever they said to make it not obvious that the NFT just sold really, really badly and they have a bunch of these and they need to get rid of them, because that's what it is. That's what's happened. I'm almost 100% confident of that. But I know in the stream they showed Emily's, what they said was Emily's personal collection piece version, and they said that they couldn't find one in the warehouse or in the office to show off. That's probably true, but that doesn't mean that there's not a warehouse of them sitting somewhere just collecting dust, which is probably what's actually happening. So they said that they were going to go up for premium members on Monday for an hour, and then for everybody else. And that's exactly what happened. They went up for $180, which is $20 cheaper than when it was locked to the NFT in 2021, but $15 more than the regular color version of Zap Megazord. and it actually went up as a pre-order. So I don't think they said pre-order during the fan stream, so I kind of thought, because I know that these are already manufactured, obviously, because the NFT ones got released back in November, but I thought maybe it would just be like an in-stock thing, but it was actually a pre-order for June 1st. Now, I don't exactly know when this happened, because I wasn't keeping track of it, but the first time that I saw that the listing had sold out was Thursday, so I think that these were up for 3 days without selling out, which is not too terribly surprising. I still don't think these are super popular or desired. I mean, I know some people are definitely going to get it now or want to get it now that's no longer locked to the NFT, and you don't have to support that whole thing that not a lot of people wanted to support. I know I ended up supporting it, and do I regret it because of the fact that I could have just waited and gotten this? I don't, because there was no guarantee that that was going to happen, and also I paid less than $180. I paid less than the regular price version of the Zap Megazord when I got mine, the way that I got mine. So I'm good with that, and I don't have to buy this one because it's the same product number, it's the same thing, it's just a restock of it. So in the end, it worked out. Everybody who want one, or I would assume everybody who wants one has another chance or had another chance to get it. And if you already got one, you don't have to deal with this nonsense. It's kind of a win-win, but in the end of the day, I'm glad we can just move on from it. Now, will it come back again? Like, will it come just in stock in June? Will there be another pre-order period? Like, have you actually missed the opportunity to get this forever? Who's to say? I could definitely see this being one of those products that just randomly goes up during those every once in a while Friday restocks that Pulse does. I could easily see that. I personally don't think this is like the final time that we've ever seen this thing in stock, but it definitely probably is the final time I'm going to cover it on Lightning Storm, unless there's something crazy that happens with it or something, I guess. I don't know. But whenever I see it go up on Hasbro Pulse, or if it ever does, for in stock or pre-orders relaunch, I will post about it on my Twitter, so be sure to keep track on that if you do want this. But I don't really think a lot of people even really wanted it. It took 3 days to sell out. I don't know how many that they allotted to even be up there, but it did say limit 3 per customer, which is actually kind of important because typically Pulse has a limit of 2. So they really wanted to get rid of this thing, and it looks like they might finally have. But also, speaking of Pulse, I wanted to just remind everybody that now that they've added the Mighty Morphin Black Ranger as a Selfie Series option, they're doing that special anniversary promotion to where if you are a Hasbro Pulse Premium member, so this is for Premium members only, there is the special promo code that you can get 20% off any of the Power Rangers options for Selfie Series, so red, pink, and black, but that is only valid until the end of this weekend at the end of Sunday. So I still need to order my third one. I am buying a third one. I bought red, I bought pink, I did videos on those ones, which were a lot of fun, and I'm going to get a Black Ranger one as well, and I'm especially happy that there's this whole promo code for it too, because I don't necessarily need a third figure of myself, which I don't actually think I'm going to make it of myself this time, but we'll cross that bridge when that actually happens. But just wanted to remind everybody that if you wanted to get a Selfie Series figure, any of those 3 options, and you want to get it on sale if you're a Pulse Premium member, there's not much time left to do that. Before we continue with this video, fellow content creator at The Real Chris Ace has asked me to tell you all about Fayetteville Comic Con. What is Fayetteville Comic Con? It is an upcoming event happening at the Fayetteville Crown Complex in Fayetteville, North Carolina from Friday, April 21st to Sunday, April 23rd. Fayetteville Comic Con is going to be hosting a very special Jason David Frank tribute on Saturday, April 22nd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time with a $10 entry fee that will be going specifically to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. More details on this event, as well as a streaming pass for those who cannot attend physically, are available on the Fayetteville Comic Con webpage seen on the screen and in the description below right now. This convention is going to be the first one to feature Power Rangers actors after the worldwide debut of the Once and Always special, and because of that, there will be a special watch-along with the special featuring a Q&A with Barbara Goodson, the voice of Rita, and Walter Jones. In addition to Barbara and Walter, other Power Rangers-related guests at this event include Jason Font, Hunter Deno, Kerrigan Mahan, Blake Foster, Sierra Hanna, Jeffrey Perazzo, Rory Travis, and more. Once again, Fayetteville Comic Con is happening this upcoming weekend, Friday, April 21st through Sunday, April 23rd, and for all the information, including how to get tickets and everything else about the event, is available at the website on the screen right now or in the description below. And shout out to Chris Ace for asking me and a bunch of other people in the community to just spread the word about this really cool Power Rangers event happening very soon. Alright, and now we have the Cobra Kais, which we're going to talk about very briefly, because it's the Cobra Kais. So they did go for pre-order on Wednesday, just like they said they were going to. Target, classic Target. So every time that Hasbro gives Target a pre-order, and they give it a specific time, Target just kind of goes, okay, but we'll just kind of put them up whenever. So They didn't go up at 1 o'clock p.m. on Target like they were supposed to, but to give Target some credit, they didn't take too terribly long to go up there. So I saw Preternia tweet out the Target links at 1:27 p.m. I'm pretty sure that was the time. They could have gone up a little earlier than that. I checked at 1, and I checked at like 1:05. They were not up then. So it was probably sometime between like 1:05 and like 1:25 or something that they went up, something like that. So in terms of Target turnarounds, that's pretty solid. So if you want to get these, they are available on Target right now. They don't have a release date on Target, but on Hasbro Pulse, because they have limited quantities on Pulse, although I don't think they're going to sell out very quickly, they have them listed as a July 1st release date on Pulse US. However, they have them listed as a May 8th release date on Pulse UK. So just like how Pulse UK was the first place to get the first batch of these, it looks like they are going to be the first place to get the second batch literally in 2 weeks. So it looks like they revealed them pretty much right up to the wire with this one. So if you want the rest of the Cobra Kais, it looks like, especially in the UK, you're going to be able to complete them pretty soon. And honestly, a July release date for these is not that far off anyway. The original 3 haven't released from Target's website, but they have been all found in stores over the last couple of weeks. So they're starting to trickle out there. So I would not be surprised if these ones, the next 2 are not too far behind. But before we move on from these, I want to talk about something that I noticed that was just kind of weird with the boxes. Now, I know a lot of people aren't going to care about this, but it triggers my OCD, and I just don't really understand it. So, basically, on the original 3 Cobra Kai boxes, all of them, the render on the front is a full body render, just like on regular Lightning Collection figures, so you can see, like, the whole figure, right? Well, when they showed Johnny and Miguel's boxes on Monday, and they, like, put them on the table, for some reason, both of them were zoomed in, like it wasn't a full body render on them, which makes them not match the other 3, which is kind of a weird choice. But then when they said, oh, by the way, these are going to go for pre-order on Wednesday, and they put a graphic on the screen, it showed Johnny having a box matching the other 3, and Miguel still zoomed in. And then when the figures went up for pre-order, that was the same case, where Johnny's box promo shot matches the other 3, but Miguel's does not. So it seems like Miguel's box is not going to match at all, but Johnny's has a 50-50 chance of actually matching. But then again, promo shots can lie for Lightning Collection. And then, you know, you have like a physical thing on the desk there. So that means that that one's probably more indicative of the final product. So I'm very curious what's going to happen in 2 weeks when these release, what size the render is going to be on these boxes. I'm hoping both of them have a full body render so they match everybody else. But also they're the Cobra Kai figures. I'm waiting for clearance on all of these, so I don't necessarily care. But it's just one of those things where it's still a weird thing regardless. And it's one of those many mysteries of the Lightning Collection that we will never get explained, and there probably isn't an explanation for it, but when I noticed it, I just want to talk about it, because why? And finally, that brings us to Remastered. Oh boy. So, Remastered Wave 2, technically 3, whatever you want to call it, this wave, went up for pre-order on Wednesday, on Once and Always Day, on all major retailers, or all fan channel retailers, because they're not retail releases, they're fan channels. However, Amazon got them, so Amazon actually got this wave, which actually sold via Amazon, which is very bizarre. So, Amazon is technically a fan channel retailer, but they don't get all fan channel releases. Like, they didn't get blue and they didn't get yellow. You can get them on there, I think, from third-party sellers, or eventually you'll be able to regardless. But, like, Amazon isn't directly carrying them, but they are for the next 3. Which, sometimes that happens. I mean, sometimes fan channel releases are also on Amazon. This happens with Marvel a lot, where sometimes Amazon decides to carry it and sometimes they don't. I don't know why they decided to carry these ones and not the other 2. Maybe they'll carry blue and yellow when the restock happens, when black goes up, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. But like, okay, so red and green are currently sold out on Amazon though. Pink is still in stock. Now, the majority of this segment, we have a lot to talk about with green and red. So I'm going to just finish talking about pink right now. She went up. It's the 6th release of Mighty Morphin Pink in the line, so I have nothing to say about it. It's up. If you don't have any of these other versions, somehow you can get this one. It does have the new Kimberly head sculpt and everything, but it offers nothing to me except for that new Kimberly head sculpt and the Morpher and stuff, of course. And like, you can't do this team without releasing her again. I totally get it, but like, this is going to be my 6th one. So red and green were the subject of a bunch of debates this past week, and it's completely understandable why, because Hasbro did a classic miscommunication, and they also just made a bad decision in the way that these figures exist. I was under the impression up until Monday evening that red was not going to come with the shield They just were showing it on him as a demonstration that you could swap it, because in my mind I went, how do you not release Green with his shield? Now, I know there's been figures in the past where like the shield has been swappable, but I really can't think of an example, and I'm sure there is one somewhere, of Mighty Morphin Green being released as an action figure without his shield. Like I said, I'm sure there's an example out there. One doesn't come to my head instantaneously, and for the purposes of this, it doesn't really matter. But like, it just seems like how do you do that, right? And my buddy John Green, like, I think summed this up perfectly. I'm just going to put his tweet on screen. That this release method goes against what Remastered is. When it comes to how this is being released, I like the idea. The execution is bad. Basically, what this is, and they kind of referenced this fact, they did reference it a little bit in with John and Jarrett and everything talking about it, is that in the very first time that Red ever uses the shield, in the episode Gun Ho in Season 1, it's the debut of Titanus and everything. Basically, Green temporarily gives Red the shield, and when that happens, it's not like a full transfer of the shield, so Green still has the armbands on, and Red just gets the shield. He doesn't get a Dragon Dagger holster, he doesn't get the Dragon Dagger, and he doesn't get the bands. Now, that was something you could never make in Lightning Collection, because you could finagle the shield off. I mean, people did that to make custom, like, J.J. Oliver's. I even did that. But you couldn't get the bands off because they were molded on. But now with this new remastered one, the bands are also swappable, so you could perfectly recreate that specific scene that only happened like one time, but technically is a valid thing for them to make a figure release of, because it is something that was on screen. You could do that. And in that regard, like, I think it's kind of funny and amusing, and I really like deep cut references. So while, you know, I just complained a couple minutes ago about how many Mighty Morphin Pinks we have, I don't mind if they re-release figures, you know, to kind of milk more money and stuff like that, if the release method is a valid release method. And this is a valid release method. A shieldless Green and a Red with a shield that doesn't have the Dragon Dagger holster or the Gold Morpher like this form is technically supposed to have are both completely valid. Remastered is not the place for this. It just is not. Remastered is supposed to be a way to get the Mighty Morphin team out on the market again for the 30th anniversary for those who have not collected Lightning Collection, or if you have, to get the most definitive versions of these characters that the line has produced so far. That's why the prices are increased, that's why they have brand new head sculpts, that's why they have all these extra hands and the morphers and the extra paint and all that kind of stuff. So when you think of the definitive version of these characters, Red needs to have a new head sculpt for Jason, and Green needs to have his shield, because it's his shield. And I did not expect at all, because they didn't show the boxes. That was one of the big things too. The boxes were a big debate. They didn't show the boxes on the stream. They showed Black's box, but not Pink, Green, and Red. So it made it kind of confusing, and I saw a lot of people asking, is Red coming with the shield? Is Green coming with the shield? What's happening there? The promo shots in the stream did not show a Jason head. Is there a Jason head? So kind of giving you a brief timeline of events of what happened here, because there's a little bit for Monday, there's a little bit for Wednesday, and there's a little bit for Friday. So on Monday night, I don't remember if I posted about it at this point or not, but I had kind of checked in with some of my sources. We were just kind of talking about our thoughts on the fan stream, and I was told that Jason does not have a brand new head sculpt. That, I guess, kind of maybe the rationale behind it was, hey, you give him the shield, you don't necessarily have to include a head sculpt, or you can kind of fudge it to that being the reason. And we'll get to why that maybe was the case in a minute. And I was like, that's interesting. So honestly, I think the Jason head sculpt we already have from the 3 figures that have gotten it is really solid. That's not justification for this one not having one, because the idea is that, well, in some regards, Remastered is supposed to be a replacement for what you already have, but it's also supposed to be another option for somebody who doesn't have the original releases. And for both of these, that's where that really fails in the Remastered department for what these are supposed to be. Because, for example, Mighty Morphin Green. Mighty Morphin Green was a figure that was highly sought after, but it was released 3 years ago. Nobody has that figure in stock anymore for like a reasonable price. They did do a restock re-release of Mighty Morphin Red, but I think back in 2022, I think it was last year. And I think some stores still have it in stock. So like if you want a Jason head, you can technically still buy the original release relatively easily, even though that figure is 4 years old. Mighty Morphin Green was technically scheduled to get a restock. Entertainment Earth was taking pre-orders for a period of time before they canceled those. And you had people in one side of the argument that were saying, well, yeah, that's fine that they canceled it because Remastered's coming, but I really wanted the original release, so it would match the plastic tray boxes and it would just match with everything else, and also to be the cheaper price, and that's completely valid. And then you had the other side of the argument that was like, well, it's okay that they canceled the pre-orders because we're about to get remastered and it's going to be better anyway. And now we have this where the shield is not with green and you're going to have to buy red to get the shield. And like, it's not that big of a deal. Probably most people are going to want to buy all these figures anyway. But not everybody. Some people are just going to want Mighty Morphin Green. Some people are just going to want Mighty Morphin Red. Which I guess if you just want Mighty Morphin Red, you can just take the shield off. But like, it's really, a lot of people are going to want Mighty Morphin Green. And they're going to want his shield. And for him to not have it, and you have to buy another $33 figure to get it, so you basically have to spend $75-ish after tax to actually make the Mighty Morphin Green that you want. You might as well just go and track down the other one, which is going for like a similar price anyway. So it's like, it's a lose-lose situation on that front. However, then you also have this thing that they did with miscommunication. So what I mean by that is that, well, they showed the boxes on Wednesday, right? And for the original wave, and for pretty much every plastic repackaging figure, although Deluxe Wave 4 didn't get them either, which in that case it doesn't really matter as much because you can pretty much see everything that they come with, and they also showed the boxes on stream, and they did turn them around on the stream so you could see the back of them. The back of the plastic-free boxes in the current era of packaging show an accessories breakdown. So there was people that were like, is there a Mighty Morphin Red, or is there a new Jason head sculpt in here with Mighty Morphin Red? Because people were wondering that even though they didn't show it, they were wondering if it was still included and they just were hiding it for some reason. They never posted box photos for the back of these boxes, which would show us the accessories breakdown and confirm to us one way or the other that it had or did not have a Jason head sculpt. We have the answer definitively now, which I'll get to in 1 second, because there's just one other aspect of this that was a miscommunication error, and that is the product descriptions. So I don't have a screenshot right now, I believe, for the Red Ranger one, but I'll use the Screen Ranger one as an example, where it lists as one of like the features of the product that it has a brand new redone head sculpt. And originally it said that on the Mighty Morphin Red page as well, which is probably just a case of like them copying and pasting it and not changing that aspect. However, they've changed it now. So looking at the Pulse description, I don't think it says anything about a head sculpt anymore on there, which is accurate because, spoiler alert, he doesn't have one. So now that we actually have a way of knowing that. But like, what happened there? And then Big Bad Toy Store, for some reason, which I don't know if they got this from Hasbro or they just write their own product descriptions based on what they see, but they listed Mighty Morphin Green coming with the shield. But then they had to update it to say he doesn't come with the shield. So what happened here? So there's also a piece of evidence in some way dating back to January. So back in January, there was that banner that leaked from Amazon that showed the artwork that very much did end up becoming a majority of the artwork for the remastered boxes, just as we theorized that it would. And then that one, there was Green Ranger artwork and there was Red Ranger artwork. Green with a shield, red without one, but then for the final product, the final boxes, it uses that artwork, but green doesn't have a shield and red does. So there's actually brand new artwork different from that banner on these final boxes. So there is artwork out there for the releases that people would have wanted, but we're not getting those. So what happened? Well, the theory out there, which, I mean, I can't see anything to disprove this. I think it's not a good reason. I think it's kind of a dumb reason. But the reason out there that's kind of the main leading one is that they are trying to distance themselves from ASJ because of all of his legal troubles right now. And the fact is they didn't want to bring attention to it or something. So by giving him the shield, there's like this justifiable reason for him to not have a head. The problem is, though, is that they will never say that, because if that's the truth, then by them saying, hey, we didn't include this head because he has the shield, you could just stop there. But then people are going to complain because they're going to be like, well, you could have included it anyway, especially with the increased price, which they definitely could have. But then also, they can't say that we're distancing him because of the legal stuff, because the idea of him not having the head in the first place is probably to not bring attention to those exact things. So they're not going to want to talk about it, I would imagine. So it's just one of the things where it's like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't kind of thing. In my opinion, you need to separate the actor from the character. I understand it to a point from like why that decision would be made that way. And as we talked about, even though I think the figure's been canceled, the Wild Force Red figure was not going to have a Cole head, and we talked about how that could also potentially have been an actor thing. And in that case, I figured that the excuse would have been, even though I don't think Hasbro ever would have said it, if that figure even is going to still exist, I always kind of assumed that they could kind of have gotten away with it because you're going to have this whole Battleizer armor, so like that's sort of a reason why he wouldn't have a civilian head. It's not a good reason, but like I could see where the logic would make sense on that front. But here, like, he should have it. Like, he just should have it. And like, at least one thing, I guess, is that this disproves the very, very weird rumor out there that Hasbro was no longer going to make any Tommy merchandise because of the way that JDF passed away. They wouldn't want to bring attention to that or anything like that, and that's just not true, like, at all, because obviously they revealed Remastered Green this past week, which has a new JDF head sculpt. They revealed Dino Thunder Black since the tragedy happened, and they are making the Master Morpher with lines that he recorded, so that's not true. Also, it's Tommy. There's no way they were going to stop making Tommy merchandise. So, it's such a weird thing, too, because, like, I don't know, like, the Mighty Morphin Green ones, I mean, back to the accessories thing, so that holster thing, right? The holster's wrong. Like, the holster's not the Dragon Dagger holster. It's the Blade Blaster holster painted black. Which, like, I see the logic there. If that was, obviously, it had to have been an intentional decision, I assume. I guess I can see the logic because he comes with the Blade Blaster, which I made this joke tweet about, you know, your guess is as good as mine as to why he has that. People then responded where I guess he had one for some reason as an error in Return of an Old Friend, and there was like this behind-the-scenes production video, which I'll probably be playing right now, where JDF is messing around with one. So, like, okay, fine. I guess there is some precedent in the background in the franchise for him to have a Blade Blaster. I really don't care if he has a Blade Blaster or not. What I do care about is for him to have the correct holster, which is something that they got right on the Fighting Spirit one, in the regular 2021, and even Draken had a Dragon Dagger holster, so they have that mold in some capacity. So, like, right there, that doesn't scream remastered. Somebody said, was it demastered? Somebody said that earlier this week, and I don't remember who I need to give the credit to for that one. But, like, it's true. Like, this is not a remastered green. This is the demastered green. And this is a 50-50 remastered red. Like, you have the new helmets and you have the shield, so, like, you're getting more out of this than you did in the original release of Jason. And there is an easier way for you to get the older Jason head sculpt than the older Tommy one. So, like, if you kind of kit bash some things together, you can kind of make the versions of these figures that they're supposed to be. But why aren't they just the versions of the figures that they're supposed to be? And I know it could be the legal thing, but it's just so frustrating. However, I'll give Hasbro one thing here, because I guarantee you these weren't here on Wednesday. I was doing prep for this video, which of course involves like downloading pictures and all that kind of stuff, and I'm scrolling through the pictures on the Remastered Red and the Remastered Green figure pages, and Pink as well, but once again, we don't care about Remastered Pink, so I'm not talking about that one. They actually added accessories photos, accessories breakdown photos. Still no photos of the back of the box, but this is all we need. So this pictures confirm what the accessories are. So Green has, I believe it was the holstered and the blade version of the Blade Blaster, so no blaster one, which, okay, whatever, I don't really care. And then he has the green candle, which is cool, in the new Tommy head sculpt and everything, and no shield, which was obvious by the render. And then Jason does not have a Jason head sculpt, which I think hopefully will finally debunk the whole debate on if he had one. People kept thinking, oh, does he have one and they're just not showing it? It just seemed like it would have been a really weird thing for that to be the case and then not show it. Also, the release dates for these ones, if I didn't say it already, were completely asinine. So they had December for most of the release dates on Pulse and Amazon, and then GameStop had completely unrealistic ones again. Both those dates are completely wrong. So the Pulse UK dates that had them listed as like September, that's definitely more of what you should expect for these. It's not going to take us until December, or what was it? I think it was January 2024 on Entertainment Earth. No, absolutely not. All 6 of these are coming out this year, which brings us back to one of them, MMPR Black. So MMPR Black did not go for pre-order this past week, and I just wanted to make sure that I reset that at the end of this segment here, because it's weird that he didn't go for pre-order. I don't know why that's the case. My only theory behind it is that in my listings that I shared with you guys in episode 200, I said that Remastered Black was going to be in Wave 2 with a restock of blue and yellow for a July release, and then that Wave 3 was going to be, I think it was an October or August release or something like that. So my only theory is that I'm wondering if MMPR Black is just not going to get a pre-order and maybe just go up for in stock at some point in the summer alongside whenever stores get another case or another shipment of blue and yellow, which by the way are in stock on Hasbro Pulse this past week. Actually, they went in stock just in time for Once and Always, so good timing on that one. If it was, maybe they tried to maybe that was intentional, but it worked out really well. Those two went in stock on Pulse on the day, so you can get those right now in stock. But Black, no pre-orders up for him yet. They did show his box on the stream, so like we know it's just another regular release. There was some people theorizing that he was going to be like an exclusive, or he was going to be like in a 2-pack or something, and they were just trying to hide that. No, none of that's true. It's just, for some reason, they just didn't put him up with everybody else. And I think that's just because, since he's being released with a bunch of restocks, they might just put him up in stock, like I said, and not do pre-orders. That's my current theory as to what happened with that. When that's going to be, I don't know. That could be in May. That could be in June. It could be all the way into July. But at some point, I'm expecting him to just pop up somewhere. But these other three, probably sometime around August, September, October at the absolute latest for them. It's not going to be January Entertainment Earth. It's not going to be that long. But, like, yeah, this wave is weird. It's a weird one. I'm conflicted. It's conflicting because I get it. You shouldn't have to buy both these figures to get the version of Mighty Morphin Green that you would want. I pre-ordered these because, as to be expected, red and green were the ones that sold out. Pink hasn't sold out like anywhere, but these sold out on Amazon. They sold out on Pulse. You can still get them, I think, from Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store and stuff like that, and you will be able to eventually get them. I mean, I'm sure they're making a big quantity of all these ones because they want to try to sell them for the anniversary. So I wouldn't expect these to be too difficult to get, but I get it. It's definitely frustrating, and it's definitely not the right move for this line. I wish they would have done it better. Maybe they were going to. I don't know. It's definitely not the correct move here. I appreciate a lot the removable shield aspect. I really like that aspect, and that's really cool. And that's something that makes it feel like this line is the appropriate place for this. But there's no reason in my mind that they couldn't have just released it with green like they should have. Alright, and with that is going to do it for this week's episode of Lightning Storm. Lots to talk about here. I know this was a long one, but I did not expect there to still be so much to talk about from the Fanstream on Monday. But that really just kind of goes to show how strong of a stream that was. I don't want to be like, have recency bias with it and everything, but that might have been the best stream we've ever had. It had the most figure reveals ever with 11. Here's the updated chart, by the way, now that we have all the nice promo shots of everybody. It was fantastic. Like, it's been a really fun week to be a Power Rangers fan. Lots of hype out there for Once and Always and all that kind of stuff. But still, you just have these weird things. A lot of people said it's like, one step forward, like 2 steps backwards. You can never just have a seemingly perfect reveal go correctly without leaks or without miscommunications or without just bizarre decisions. And this week was not exempt from that, which I guess is to be expected when you have the most figure reveals ever in one event. They're not all going to be perfect. A lot of them were, though. Like Wave 15, I think, was fantastic. The Deluxes are great. Cobra Kai's, once again, those exist. And Remastered was just kind of a mess. But, which is funny, because those are probably the ones that they're banking on and tried to put the most effort into. But who knows? But anyway, like I said, lots to talk about here, so there's a lot I want to read down in the comments below, so be sure to share your thoughts. Also, let me know, because this was $375 worth of pre-orders, which was a lot. So let me know, did you pre-order all 11 of them? Are you picking and choosing? Are you going to wait for the Cobra Kai's to go on clearance like I am? What are your thoughts about everything down in the comments below? I want to read it, and of course, until next time, you guys can follow me on Twitter at LightningRangerKey or LightningFigPR, and I'll see you all in Lightning Storm. This year's for Lightning always strikes twice. To wrap up this video, I'd like to thank my $5 and above patrons: Jurassic Samurai, Maggot Alchemist, Robert Browning, Static Thunder, Brendan Overland, Maji Yellow, Redstone MCPC, Comics 1017, James Darty, John Luke, Eric Berry, Tyler Bezetsky, Matthew Thorne, Josh Landry, Pyramidas, CPT Tesla, Cross SCV, Caboose Ed, Socket Monsters, Anthony Love, Daniel Pika, and Hella Geo. You can support Toku Topics for as little as $1 a month on my Patreon, linked in the description below.